Welcome to the second part of the Nextcloud AI integration video. We'll pick up what we left off last time, the Ollama setup. If you follow these tips, you can also use your AI system from any device supporting the OpenAI API. The full implementation is not yet available, but most of it has been done, according to the docs. At the end of this video, we'll try an Android app through which you can use your Ollama instance wherever you are, so keep watching. When I talked about OpenWeb UI, we've already seen how Ollama works. There are some new tweaks I found that may improve performance. We lacked both on Ollama and on the operating system itself. As usual, we'll see how to do this on Debian, so most tips will certainly be applicable for other distros as well. Let's start with some documentation I prepared. You'll see some live demonstration where applicable. Relevant links are in the video description. So this is the basic setup. Create a new Docker Compose file and its systemd service to run the container automatically. I really must show you some of the environment variables in the Compose file. These ones are not documented, but a GitHub user created a table that includes the comments in the source code as description. This first variable is very important. By default, Ollama unloads an AI model from the RAM if it's not being used for the last 5 minutes. According to the source code, if you set any negative number, that model should stay in memory indefinitely. Now, I notice that sometimes the model is unloaded anyway, especially when using different models one after the other, so it might not work in all situations. The debug variable is crucial to let you know what Ollama is doing and if there are any errors. When an expected response goes in timeout, checking the container logs is a must. Some models, in fact, have bugs you might not normally notice. All environment variables you see here are parsed by the config.go file. This is part of the Ollama repository, of course. The next step is to act directly on the CPU, since we are doing inference on that. Let's read this warning. There might be some tools already managing the governor, such as CPU power, thermal D, power profile daemon, etc. Before following the steps below, make sure not to have any of them active, as this might cause conflicts, so keep that in mind. As you see here, I already set the governor to performance. The other setting is specific to Intel processors only. This is better explained on this Arch Wiki page. The important thing is to set all these commands in a crontab or a systemd service so they get automatically executed on boot. I could also tell you to disable CPU mitigations. Apparently, in certain cases, especially with older CPUs, you can get quite significant gains. Please note that disabling CPU mitigations can expose your system to security risks. Proceed with caution and understand the implications. This is not a safety advice. As you see, everything is working. Using this lighter model seems to work fine in terms of performance. The generated result, however, is a little bit hallucinated. I also noticed the Nextcloud Android app has the assistant feature now. It's not really production ready nor useful at the moment. You can only send one prompt at a time, as it sometimes is truncated. If we continue with the documentation, we'll still have 2 sections to cover: HTTPS backend with authorization and Android app. The Android app part cannot be implemented without the HTTPS backend. So let's continue. Once you're ready to expose Ollama directly on the internet, you really must add some kind of authentication. Without it, anybody can use Ollama and can potentially upload unwanted AI models. Ollama doesn't have this built-in mechanism yet, but you can leverage on the reverse proxy headers for this job. We'll use Apache as HTTP server because that's what I've been using in production for years. In the documentation, you'll also find an nginx configuration. This one has been provided by a GitHub user in a comment, so I didn't test that. Remember that our final result is to have Ollama accessible only through a token, as I'm testing here with cURL. The setup is very simple. First of all, generate a new random token. I suggest using Python's UUID4 function for this. When you create the Apache virtual host, you need to copy the token in the condition. Now, this condition and what it implies can be read like this. If the value of the authorization HTTP header is not equal to bearer space token, then return an HTTP 401 unauthorized response. R stands for response in this case. There are regular expressions both in the rewrite cond and rewrite rule lines. The rest of the virtual host configuration is pretty standard. I reported some examples of what happens in the three cases. And now the interesting application for this. Remote usage. You can connect any compatible client to it, but we'll focus on a new app available from F-Droid called GPTMobile. It supports lots of different AI systems, including Ollama. Once you configure the URL, token, and model name, you're ready to go. There is no drop-down menu for the model name, so you have to type it in exactly. This is a 7 billion parameter model, by the way, so the speed is still acceptable. There is also another app on F-Droid, but GPTMobile seems better to me. If you find this video useful, please share, like, and subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.